Saturn Vue. I want to tell everybody the method of my madness and why this engine looks so ugly, dirty, gross. Well, I don't really care about the beauty of how it looks. I don't want it to be shiny and pretty cosmetically. I want it to work good, and I want it to hold up, and I want it to last. And look at it. It looks disgusting, doesn't it? All this sludge and oil and dust and debris and all the rest of it. It doesn't have any shine to it. Well, I'm going to tell you what I do and why it ends up looking like this. You're going to see this and say, oh, air conditioner line's missing. That's right. I have a massive leak in the system, and this particular line here interferes with the whole plenum here lifting up to be able to change the spark plugs. So I just remove the line. I never plan on having an air conditioning working in it. They just don't hold up good enough for me, so I don't want it. So I remove the line permanently, and don't really matter what happens to the, from this point downward and wherever else it goes, to all the condensers and the radiators and all that stuff. So I don't worry about that. So let me get started here. Well, this is what I use. I don't use anything particularly. Whatever I kind of have on hand, and whenever a good moment kind of shows itself. So today I'm using this here. It is called, let me get the English side. There it is. This is what it does. Now it details, it definitely does. But the only problem is, after the detail takes place, well, I drive down dirty roads and dusty roads and gravel roads and highways and all that sort of stuff. So it ends up picking up all kinds of dust and debris and ends up sticking to it. So that's why it kind of looks like it does. Gross. Not pearly shiny. So I just really saturate everything. I really do. And why I do that, it keeps everything free. So if the day comes where I'm going to actually have to remove these little bolts and nuts and screws, my hope is that they're going to undo themselves, spin free, and I'll be able to fix what's needed to be fixed. If I don't do this, I truly believe that I'm probably going to end up running into all kinds of complications. For an example, a lot of these bolts, nuts, and screws are just going to snap. And once they break, well, that creates grief, and you got to deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, well, then you end up with further problems, leaks, not running properly because it's getting, it's sucking in air, that type of thing. So what I do is I just go throughout the whole underside of the hood, and I really just go, I don't try and worry about too much. I just really go crazy and spray this stuff all over the place. And it sure does look gross. And down inside of here, you got all these channels and stuff, and I just put the hose in there and I just let her have it. Now, the mechanics at the garages, if I ever had to bring it to them, they probably wouldn't like to work on it. But I do all the work myself, so that's not really a concern I have. They may look at this and say, oh my goodness, I'm going to get so dirty working on something that's so dirty. But that's okay, because that's why they sell soap. And there's warm water, and you can wash all that stuff off of yourself. So I'm more into the preserving portion of it, and that's where this can of oil comes in. And I just go silly. I go everywhere, any old place. I'm not going to do a complete job. I'm just giving an example of what I do. And no particular can of any particular stuff needs to be used. It doesn't even have to be an aerosol can. It can be just about anything, really. And then once everything's wet like this, because I usually do a really good job, I'm just giving a demonstration right now, so I'm not going to do a complete job. I just don't need it quite yet. So after that point, you're traveling down the road and you're behind vehicles, and they're shooting up dust from the road, from the back roads, from the gravel roads, and debris, whatever it happens to be. And then it kind of swirls underneath this hood, and it gets clinged on to the motor. And that's why you see all this stuff in here. because that's basically what it is. It's just basically road debris, bugs, and all the rest of it. It sticks there because everything's kind of wet. You know, if I was to rub that, I could actually make it nice and shiny. But that's just not what I'm after. I'm not after that shine. I'm after the length of time and the bolts, nuts, and screws remaining free. I care more about that than I do of it being nice and shiny and looking new. Well, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you have not, and thank you very much for those that have.